Okay, so looks like we're here. Okay, so I just now created with create React app. Let's make this bigger so you can see what's happening. Okay, so I used create React app to create a project called draggable treeview. Spared you the having to wait for all of the installers to run. So let's code there. So I trust that create React app is not adding malicious code to my system. Okay, so here we have a blank React app. Let's just run it, make sure everything looks good. npm start. Make this bigger so you can see what's happening. And put the stream chat down here. Okay, there it is. So there's my little app that I've created. And so know everything that works. So this demo or this coding session. I don't know what I'm going to hit because I've only have a general idea in my head. So the real value of this is getting to see how a free form coding session works when I'm trying to discover something new and create something new. So you'll see me learning, refactoring, changing code as I go. I have a very step-by-step incremental way of writing code. I try to take myself to places where I can stand little piece of functionality that works at each step. And sometimes I'll get to a dead end, I'll need to back up, but I always am trying to keep myself interested in the code by having it working. So that's the real value, is getting to see like the coding process. Maybe we'll learn something about treeview controls. Okay, so I have this React app. It's running in this interactive mode, so I can start making changes to it. So here let's go ahead. I like to, since this is inside a Git repo, I'm going to go ahead and check in what I've got. So this is created initial treeview app for prototyping. Check that in. And I always like to go ahead and push it up because I'm never sure that my computer will survive from one day to another, and I don't like to leave dangling changes on my computer, but I put them up in the cloud. Okay, back to the app. So here in the source, we have some CSS and our index. Oh, dang it. I didn't create the TypeScript one. Did I not do that? I said you do TypeScript. Oh, now I'm sad. Now I'm sad because I don't want to write this in JavaScript. So now I gotta figure out how to reconfigure my app to TypeScript. Dang it. Okay. Almighty internet. Time to tell us how to make it. You lied to me. I did the thing that you said to create a TypeScript app. It didn't work. Create TypeScript React app. So adding TypeScript. So create React app. My app, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's what I was supposed to do. This command. All right, let's try again. Goodbye, code. And I had already checked it in and everything. That's so annoying. Draggable treeview, goodbye. Let's make sure I can see the chat. Go away. Delete. bother. Okay, well that's deleting. Oh, that's so annoying. Let's just create it in a new spot. cd dot. Okay. I did it that way. Oh yeah, that's what I did. So before I did it like this, which is wrong. And now I'm going to do it like this. It's not going to be called my app. It's going to be called demo draggable treeview. They don't let you put capital letters in there anymore, so you can't do Pascal casing, which I don't like, but oh well. Okay, now we got to wait for it to all like sync again. Good thing I have gigabit Ethernet, so it won't take completely forever. And did it delete it? Oh, it's still working on deleting that thing. That's okay. So let's talk about tree views. So while this is doing stuff, I'll draw a picture because it always helps clarify my mind to draw. Oh, you can see I already did a little bit of tree viewing there, but that was an earlier thing. I'll need the internet for this. What do you mean I don't have a connection? I definitely have a connection to the internet. Okay. So a tree view control is you start out with you have some kind of data structure where you'll have some sort of object which has some properties on it often. Like for instance, let's make this concrete. Like you might have some sort of a company. Okay. And a company itself is a big object that has properties describing it. And inside the company, you might have like divisions. And the divisions is going to be some list of divisions, each one like that. And inside the division, you might have, employees. And then, an employee might have another group of things called, responsibilities. Anyway, and that's also a list of things. Okay, so you have this tree-like hierarchy. Now, when we're coding, it's very important that there is a strong conceptual barrier between the way you think about your data and the way you think about rendering. We're gonna be rendering a control that is going to have similar kind of structure here. It's going to have some root, and the root is going to have children. And each of these children are in turn going to have more children. Now, I deliberately am not using the discussion of what I'm not using these terms like company, divisions, employees. I'm talking about a tree view. So there's a root, child. This isn't part of this abstraction or this separation of concerns. Rendering is thinking about the general concept of how do we render something that looks hierarchical in nature versus how do we think about the business logic that has a hierarchy in it. So we start by using terms inside the tree view that make sure that it's generic. Now, when we might imagine that our company is, when we render the tree view control, we want to have it, we'll have at the root, we're going to show one thing. When we show the divisions in the company, we're going to use some kind of UI, right? So maybe we want to show them in green or something like that. And then if you have a little arrow here and you expand the company, you're going to have another UI. So when we expand that, it will look like this. You'll have the green company like this, and then you'll have the employees, or the division will have the employees listed, and they'll have a different UI. So you want to have this concept of a tree view control can display different kinds of UI depending on what kind of object is displaying. So we're going to be playing with that today as we write this treeview control. We may never get to the dragging part, but you know, sometimes these things can go faster than we think. Well, maybe we'll get lucky. Looks like we're done in the background, so I'll keep this picture available so that we can refer to it. Sometimes it's helpful when we're trying to think about how to code a thing. Okay, so let's take a look. CD to the demo, draggable treeview, code it. Yes, I trust them totally. Okay, we're back here. All right. Did it do TypeScript? Yes, it did TypeScript. Thank you. Okay, so let's do our thing where we run it again. npm start. Okay, so let's get rid of this, get rid of that one. We don't need that. Okay, I see this spinning thing and I keep waiting for something to happen. It looks like a waiting logo, but it's not. It's like, okay, we're good. Okay, so let's once again check in what we've got. We deleted a bunch of stuff and okay. Converted treeview app to TypeScript. TypeScript. Check in, push it up. Okay, now we're back in business. Okay, now the next thing I like to do in apps is I like to gut them. I don't like to start with all their little stuff there, so let's just start by gutting everything. Okay, so this is saying, okay, I guess if you want to start measuring performance of your app, I really don't care about that. Report web vitals, let's get rid of extra code. I'll keep the test there. I don't need the logo and the index. I'm rendering my app. So I like to have a folder for views and components, but actually in this case I'm not going to care. So the app is where we're just showing stuff. I don't care about any of this junk. It's just going to be an app. Hi there. And save. There is, and I generally on the app CSS, I don't like to import it that way. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. I really don't care. So I'm just going to empty this out. And here I'm not even going to bother. Actually, I'll import it as a style, and I can never quite remember how to do that. So I usually look at other code that I've written to see how I import styles. Here's a good one. So like this. Okay, so I'm just going to import styles from app.css because I like to have a little bit of more clarity in how I'm doing this. In fact, I'm not even using it, so there we go. I like to have traceability. But whenever you include stuff like this, you get these side effects that you don't know where they're harder to trace. And so I'd like to be more explicit in how I declare my styles. So what do they have in index.css? Yeah, this makes sense because this is defining kind of in general what the body of the app. I also sometimes like to add another style here, which I see what I did in my other app. So this code here, index, no. So let's go to the index.tsx. Do I have this? Where's my CSS for this? control-p.css. I need to open up a different app. I have another one that I'm working on that does this. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is like have a generic style for the entire app that it overrides for things that it doesn't know. So the body gets us there a little bit, but I want to look at my client app. I want to look at the source, and then in the index.tss there is, did I not do it here? Okay, I'm just going to stop going down this rat hole. There is a star style that I like to have, but I don't remember what I usually put in it. But I'm getting distracted here from what I'm trying to do, which is this treeview control. So let's just forget that. Back to the index. I'm not reporting web vitals, so I can get rid of that. And if I save, is it fixed yet? Okay. All right. So now I have a nice blank document with a little control here, and so. All right, so now we start going step by step. So this is a webhook style control, which I don't like. I don't like these kinds of controls. I don't like webhooks because they are functional style programming, and I get functional style programming and I use elements of it, but I always feel like it doesn't work with my brain. I feel like it's harder for people to come in and understand what's going on with the code, and I feel like it's a little harder, the bookkeeping's a little more difficult, in my opinion, than using MobX. Like I feel like it's superior to using state raw like React has it, but I feel like MobX is a better abstraction for playing with state, and hopefully you'll see that. Okay, what am I doing? I am creating a control because I can never remember all the syntax, so I always copy paste stuff and I forget what I'm doing. I am looking at this other app. Here we go. So the about page is a control here, and so this is what I want. So that's what a control looks like. Okay. So I have a control here. Right now there's no props for it. Wants to have React, fine. And then this is the app. And it needs a render method, render. And the tabbing needs to be fixed. Okay, for space tabbing. Render, and this is to return. Why does it spaces? I want 4 spaces. Why won't you let me do 4? Return our stuff. Hello. Okay, so now we have a real control. Component. Refresh. There we go. So let's make that bigger so you can see. Okay, finally, let's do something. So we want another control, so we're going to be our treeview control. So this is going to be renamed to treeview. And actually, yeah. So this is our treeview, and so we need to change the name of this to treeview. And we'll say, I am a tree. Fantastic. Step by step. So now we're going to bring up the app. And we're going to render a treeview control in here. We'll put the hello inside its own special little div. And then I'll do a treeview guy. Boop. And it says we need to know about it. It's going to bug me. The tabs are 2, but all right. So now we're showing that and a tree. Okay. So First, this is a nice little tool I learned a long time ago in coding, is when you aren't sure, like if you're not sure what to do next, which is often the case when you're prototyping, I use a technique a friend taught me called coding by intent. And the way coding by intent works is you pretend that the API you want exists already, and you code against it, and then you let the compiler tell you what to do next. So my treeview, I like how the treeview controls are handled in WPF, which is where I kind of cut my UI teeth a long time ago. So what I want here is I want to say my items source is equal to some object, some iterable object. So while we're doing this, since I'm developing code and the control together, I'm going to drag the treeview code over here to the right so I can see them both at the same time. And we'll put over here. So it wants an item source, and then we're going to have some kind of, we'll just have some items that we're going to pass there. So now, all right, so now we've coded by intent. I have an item source and some items, and the red squigglies are saying, well, this is what you need to do next. So let's tackle the first one. So we don't have an item source, so we're going to have a tree view props interface, and I'll come ahead and define it here. So I'm going to say interface treeview props, and it is going to have an items source, which should be of type iterable. Let's see, some iterable iterator, or I don't know, iterable thing, any, like that. So we have to have an item source. All right, so now it says can't find items, and so let's make items a thing. Like we're gonna see if this will work. Oh, see, now the tabs are working. Now the tabs are working. Why are you suddenly deciding to listen to my tabs? All right, tab in, whatever. Okay, we need an items inside the render. So we're going to say const items equals foo. And this, since we're in TypeScript, it should complain, but it didn't. Okay, so this iterable thing is whatever. I'll figure this out later. I'll just call it any. An array of any. All right, now there it's complaining. All right, so it says, I don't know what this items is not an array of anything. So let's create an array, and now it should be happy. Okay, we're still showing hello, I'm a tree. It's looking good. Okay, so now we want the treeview control to start behaving like a treeview control. Right now this is ultra simple, but we should be able to display multiple items. So I'm a tree. Okay, we're not going to display I'm a tree anymore. We are going to go through our items. So let's just say some code, this.props.items source .map some item into some UI. So the UI is going to be stupid. It's going to be item. Okay. So let's just make sure. So this is just making sure that we're like seeing the thing. Okay. And so we always can tell it where the treeview control is. Let's just put it inside a div. And let's give this div some background so that we can, or something that we can see what's going on. So border, let's give it a border. So 1 pixel solid green. There we go. So this is always helpful. When I'm this is a common debugging tactic I use when I'm messing around with CSS. Is I want to see where the thing is that I think that I'm editing. See, I expected this green box to be just right here, but it's way over here. So I'm surprised, but that's good. I mean, that's why I do stuff like this. The other shortcut I'll do, like, so that I remember to like turn things off, is I'll say background red, and usually that it like shows up really clearly in whatever I'm doing, and it reminds me to fix it later. But I'm going to be looking at this border for a long time, so I don't want to see red bothering me. So we'll have the green there. Is anybody watching? Hey, got a couple people here. That's great. Feel free to jump in if you have questions. I'll try to notice and answer them. Okay, so, all right. We had talked earlier in this whiteboard that we want to have the idea of different kinds of UI depending on what kind of item we're showing. So what we really, to abstract the treeview control, this is the thing. The treeview control, we want it to be really stupid. This is probably, this is not, believe it or not, this is not stupid enough. Here the treeview control is assuming that it's smart, and it's saying, well, I know how to render an item. I'm just going to print it because I'm going to assume it's a string or whatever. But it needs to be even stupider. The treeview control, you need to tell it how to render an item. And so a really convenient way to do that, it would be to give it an item renderer. So render item. All right, so we just coded by intent, and the compiler is telling us we need to create this property. So an item renderer is on here, and it is a function that takes an item of any type, and it will return a JSX element. Yeah, we'll just make it always return a JSX element. I think that's fair. So now we've got that, and it says, well, we need a render item. So I'll just define a render item in here. So const render item is equal to something that takes the item. So one thought that's coming into my head is that we could make the treeview a generic class so that the type checking is pretty strong. And we might go there. Let's wait until after we turn items into objects, then we'll see if that makes sense. But that's a thought that's tickling my mind, as we might want to make this generic so that we can be more careful about the types. So like these treeview props, T might, anyway, I won't go there yet. Let's keep it simple. So I need a render item. So the body of the render item is going to do this. Div, right now it's going to do the exact same thing, but we'll get fancier here in a minute. Okay, so the item renderer is, oh, I need to return that. Return, So, and then, oh, let's do something different here. Let's do, so that we know whether we're seeing this or not. So we're definitely not using it here. So let's change this to this.props.render. Oh, oops, item renderer, and we'll pass the item that we have here. So now let's make this a little prettier. So we can see what's going on. All right, so we're gonna render this, and I keep the div here because we're actually going to be doing some extra junk inside the treeview control. So we can't just depend on the item renderer to give us a full div. But now we can see that the item renderer is giving us stuff. Okay, so all we've done at this point is we've created a list. This is not truly a tree view control yet because we don't have this concept of expanded, contracted. So let's at least get it to start rendering like a tree view control. And oh, this is interesting. Yeah, I think this is where I think I painted myself into a little corner, but let's show the corner and then we'll get out of it. Okay, so this is too simple at this point. I need to, we need to now move into this concept of we have objects that have meaning. So if we go back here, we're thinking about like our company and divisions and something like that. I think maybe, okay, so let's create that data. So I'm going to just define some classes here inside this so I don't have to go outside into other files for this kind of data, and we may move them out there later. So let's think of a class that is a company. So a company has, oh man, that drives me crazy. Why is it doing that? Name, so some string, let's call it, I'll just define it. A company has a name, and a company has employees, which is going to be some employee class, and it's going to be an array of employees. And then, so name is nothing, so we're just going to say, we'll do it like this. Is equal to company, and let's just give it a number, date.now mod 20 or 100. So these will be like basically random company names with some number after them. And it's going to have employees, so we needed a class employee. And the employee class is going, each employee is going to have a name. And it's a string, and it's going to be equal to something like this. Some emp. And then let's give him a collection, or him or her a collection. We'll say they have, I did roles before, responsibilities before. What would be something interesting? Well, employees have knickknacks. How do you spell knickknacks? Knickknacks is some array of knickknack. Generally, now a tree view control. Let's make this. Let's make it a string array. Okay, and it's gonna start out empty. Maybe every company gets a tag. That's their first knickknack is a tag. Every employee has a tag, and then you can add knickknacks later. So this will be kind of fun. So employees, there's no employees, so we'll do an array with one new employee. New employee, like so. So this will give us some companies, and so now the items is equal to an array of new company, comma, new company. All right, so now we're going to show an array of 2 companies. Now, if I save this, it's not going to work because it's not going to know how to render a company. It'll say something like in the console. Yeah, it's super complaining here. Objects are not valid as children. Yeah, see right here, I'm trying to show an item in my rendering, and the item is a company, so that's totally not valid. So, all right, so let's fix this. We can't just render straight, and we want to render a company different than an employee. So, um, want to become famous? I'm not interested in buying followers, thank you. Okay. So we have to put some stuff here to decide what I'm rendering. So let's just, I'm going to do the simplest thing that works here, and I'm going to say return company, and this is going to be, the item is a company, so we want to say item, since it's an any, so render item. Yeah, I want to do this. Since I'm using TypeScript, I might as well do it. So item is a company. Dot name. And we'll make this more strict later. So this, but let's just save this now. So there we go. So what? Oh, this makes sense. Okay, this is stupid. Fine. Let's just make a dumb little function called random name function. Random name takes a root, which is a string, and it says it returns root plus math.floor math.random times 100. Boom. So we'll say random name company, and then we'll do random, same thing there, and this is emp. Okay, there we go. Ha! Not root. Root. Okay, that was a nice little sidetrack. Okay, so we're showing companies now. Well, now we want to be able to, the next step is I want to be able to expand the control. So there's no sense of expanding or contracting. So let's go here. And I'm thinking, all right, so the tree view wants to, let's just start rendering stuff, and then we'll see where we get stuck. So here I am, I'm rendering each item, but I want to render an arrow here, and I've already indented far enough, so I'm just going to go ahead and create a little subfunction here, and I'm going to say this is render an expandable item. And this will be the item, which is an any. And it's right now, it's just going to return the div with this thing in it. Okay. Okay, and I'll make that more like, save me some tabs there. All right, so this part should then just be this dot render expandable item. Okay, so now we can put our focus here. What we do want to do is for each item, for this item, we want to decide Okay, yes, all right. So we're going to have an arrow here. So I'm going to do it in a very stupid way. I'm just going to put an arrow like that. And it doesn't like that. I have to do a, let's at least do it a better way. So let's do a new terminal here. Let's make it an actual little icon. So let's do npm install React icons, like so. And then I have a little web page on the internet that'll search for React icons. And let's search for expand. Let's see if they have a arrow for it. No, let's do triangle. There we go. This is exactly what we want. So let's pick, I don't know, that one looks as good as any. Copy that guy. And so what we do is we say import that guy from React icons go. So simple. All right, so now instead of here, we just want to render the go triangle right. I just want the slash, please. There we go. So this should render the div plus this item. All right, but they are not in the same thing. So we want the concept of a row. I have in one of these other guys a row component that I like. So no, I don't want cluster fun. Go away. I want crash cow. So there is a component here called a row. I'll just copy it and then we'll paste it in here. So it's just easier than trying to remember how to do this. Okay. Wait. Oh yeah, this allows you to do styles. Okay, we'll put this all in a row. So we say row. It'll give me the right row. Yep. So we want a row, and then we're going to put this stuff. So in case you're curious, that row thing, all it does is it sets the style to inline block and no wrap, and then we get a free row. All right, so now we have the thing. All right, so great, now we have an arrow. That's super. The next thing is we want to click on the arrow to expand the thing. And so let's do that. So this guy should be on click is equal to handle expander click. And so that means we need a handle expander click here. Handle expander click. Feeling a little cramped for code space. I'm going to try making it a smaller one. If that's too small for you guys, let me know in the comments. I'll make it bigger again and deal with it. Handle expander click is some function that does something. So now when I click it, I want to change the expanded state. All right, so now we're getting into states. Okay. I'm thinking about how I want to do this. The typical straight up React approach would be to create a state thing to monitor this, but I don't like to create state stuff. I like to use mobx to do that for me because it makes more, it's just easier to code against. So let's code by intent. So what we're going to have is the expander click, we already know the item. So what we're going to say here is we're going to say item.expanded is equal to not item.expanded. Okay. Now this will not work. So we want to have the idea of obviously we're not to make this a useful tree view control, we do not want to force every user in the world to implement expanded on their item. I could be wrong about this, but generally I do not like to make people who use my APIs, I don't want to make them jump through hoops. I want to handle the hoops for them. I want you to be able to basically throw any hierarchical thing at this tree view control and just have it work. But sometimes you want to programmatically expand an item. You want to go through and change it. Well, we'll get there. So to remind myself that I want to get there, I'm going to add here a button. And this button is going to say expand all. Or yeah, expand all, and we'll just leave it. And expanding all should be able to go through and yeah, I think I'm overthinking this, but anyway, I'll leave it there as a reminder to think about this. Okay, back to this. So we don't want to make the developers have an expanded thing. We want to do it for them. So we need to create a bit of a wrapper class. So this class is going to be an expandable. An expandable item. Sorry, I'll just keep this like. There's nothing like writing real code to make you realize that your plan was incomplete. Let's. We'll get here. We'll get here. But I think I need to take a step back and think about what I want to have happen. I definitely want this. This feels natural to say I am expanding this thing. All right, let's just keep going with it. We'll get there. So it has an expanded property. That's a Boolean that starts out as false. Okay, now we're going to introduce mobx. So we're going to say npm install mobx. I think we have to add, I think there's a couple of things we have to add for mobx. So adding mobx to React. Mobx, let's see. What do they do? npm. What? Okay, fine. Show me the npm installs that I need to run to do mobx. I don't think it's that simple. npm install. Okay, maybe it is that simple. Mobx React. All right, so now we need a decorator here. So the decorator is going to be observable. Doesn't like it. because it doesn't know about it. So npm install mobx, maybe. I always know there's a couple of libraries I have to do to get this. Okay, can I do it now? Oh, come on. Save it. Observable, there it is. Okay, so we have this observable thing. It doesn't like this. Experimental support for decorators. I need to enable it in my TS config. All right, let's copy that. Experimental support for decorators. Oops. Copy. In my TS config, I need to add experimental source for decorators is true. Like that. Oh, true. And save treeview. Okay. And I think I need to go back here and just rebuild it, since I changed a TypeScript config. No. Name start. Oh. I was doing the right thing. I shouldn't have made it go away. Refresh. Okay, so now it's happy. Okay, so we have this thing now. All right, but we need to wrap it around the other thing. Oh. There is a way. Yeah, I could add this property to the items, but I don't want to mutate items. I don't want to have the side effect of mutating items, so I'm going to just wrap it. And so then the item itself, any, an expandable item. So we'll do this. We'll have a constructor with an item, any, and we'll say this dot item is equal to item. But we also need to call make observable this. This is one, mobx changed this. It used to be a decorator, but now you have to call it explicitly, which I find is slightly annoying. And I forget it, and this causes me problems once in a while, but you have to do that in the constructor if you're going to do this. Okay, so now it's observable. I have an expanded thing. And now we need to display something different here depending on whether it's expanded or not. So the way that we do that is we're going to say, let's see, item dot expanded. I'll put a question mark here and a colon here since this is a ternary. All right, if it's expanded, we're going to show one thing. If it's not expanded, we're going to show the other thing. So back to React icons, this should be the down arrow. We got the go triangle down. That's easy enough. And so we'll paste it here, and we'll get it here. So at this point, nothing big is happening here. We're just changing the direction of this triangle by clicking on that thing. This will not work, but I will prove it to you. So yeah, clicking stuff and nothing's going on. That's because there is no item expanded on that item, and it is not observable, and that's because here in the treeview control, we need to wrap the items in the constructor. So we're going to put a constructor here. It's going to take props, preview props, and we're going to have, and this already feels ugly to me, but Well, I'll think about it better later. So props, call it the super. And now, oh crap. Oh yeah, we have everything. We have everything. Okay, so then we want to have our items is equal to a new array of expandable item. Okay, and now we want to convert our items that are being passed into the constructor to yep. Thinking ahead again. Stop thinking ahead, Eric. Just stick with the thing you're doing. We want to add the items here. So we say props dot items source dot for each item. We're going to say this dot items dot push new expandable item. Okay, so this is going to wrap all the items into this expandable item. So when we render our items down here, we are going to map this dot items. I already know if some of you are watching this, you're going to be saying, well, what happens when items changes? And you're totally right. We'll deal with that at some point. Boom. Oh, still not working. And it's item render expandable item dot item. Okay, this is stupid. Okay, that's so ugly. Let's call this expandable node. F2 expandable node. Okay, so it's no longer an item anymore. And we'll just rename this one to nodes. And we'll rename this one to node. I just don't like having these confusing names in there. Okay, now if I click on it, still nothing happening. Okay, oh, wait. Why did that? Okay, it worked, but then what happened? All right. Expandable item is used. Defined but never used. Why are you complaining about that? Line 15 in the tree view? Oh, that's because. All right, so the expanded refresh. Boop. Okay. I got it to work there for a second. All right, so let's see if the clicking is even happening. Not sure that we're even getting the click event. So here, let's do console.log click, and then I guess we'll just do click. All right, and come here and we click. All right, the clicking is definitely happening. And let's do, this should be an item. We should call this, okay, this should be called, this is why names are important. This is why names are important. We're not rendering an item, we're rendering a node. Node is an expandable node. So I was fooled. I fooled myself here. By it was calling render item, and so I was content to pass an item, but no, it's passing a node. Okay, and so we say node dot expanded is not node expanded, and then node, and then this is node dot item. There we go. Okay, Boop. Oh man, still not working. Refresh. Okay, well, why are you not working? So click, and let's put a value in here. Node.expanded. Okay, it is changing that value. Oh, stupid. Okay, that was just me being stupid. This has to be an observer. Okay, that was a little bit of glue that I didn't put in. Oh, I don't think I wanted that one. Can I do observer? And then deleter. It does not like it because observer is not exported from objects. Yeah, fine. All right. This guy wasn't happy. I think I want to do MobX React. Why do I have React Lite there? I don't understand the difference between MobX React and MobX React Lite. Okay, now it'll work. Yeah. Okay, so our arrow is working. Fantastic. We could have done this with a rotate and like if you're a CSS nut, you could, instead of just changing the cursor, you could just put a rotate in there. That would look kind of cool in the CSS. Fine. Okay, so that's working. Now we want to show the expanded children. Okay, so let's just keep on trucking until the code tells us we need to do something different. So we're going to render the item in this row, but underneath the row, we may want to render this. So say node.expanded, maybe not. Okay, if it's not expanded, we just don't want to render anything. If it is expanded, we're going to say children, da 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 da. Okay, so boop, 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 boop. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so we want to render the children. So, yes. So what will that look like? I'm just going to make it, rather than having a separate function here, I'm going to make it internal. Maybe we'll move it out to a function later. Render children. What are you going to do, render children? So right now, you're going to do that. Return render children. And for this node that's already there. So if we just refresh, yeah, it still works. All right, so we got to get the children off of the node. So clearly we need to render another treeview control. So there's a treeview here, boom, boom, but we're not providing the stuff for it. So this treeview is going to have an items source equals to what? I don't know yet. And then we're going to have an the item renderer, which is going to be equal to the this dot props dot item renderer, same one. So you'll just give a single item renderer to the entire treeview control. All right. So now the source. We don't know what the source is. So let's code by intent. So it's coming off of the node dot item some property. Where do we get the property from? The props. Okay, here's the problem. Let's say we have this dot props dot child source. That means we have to provide it here. But here's the thing. We don't know. We don't know. It's like, how are we going to know this? But as a tree gets deeper and deeper, and it's continually rendering itself, how will we know that where the children come from for that particular item? So some things that are going through my mind are, I need a picture. That's what I need. I need a drawing. Back here to our drawing that we're doing. So so thinking about business logic. So I'm a big MVVM, model view model subscriber, and sometimes I to make it simpler, I'll expose some things on the items that help with the UI. But again, I want to believe that there's a way we can approach this without having to change the structure of whatever data that we're presenting. I want to be able to say, hey, here's some hierarchical data. I'll help you in understanding it, treeview control, but I'm not going to change how the data is structured. The data has to stay the same, and the data cannot. You're not allowed for this abstraction barrier to happen. You're not allowed to change. You're not allowed to know, like this guy. I'm sorry, this guy is not allowed to know that there's such thing as a treeview control. So these guys can't have the concept of expanded. And this cannot know that about the structure of the data. So it can't know that maybe there's some array or something on each item that could potentially be the children. This treeview control is dumb. So there needs to be an interface that goes across here for describing the items. So he asks a question. This guy asks a question, and this one comes back with an answer for this is where you get it off my item. So we started by doing this by let's widen this interface now. So let's talk about what we can talk about in this interface. So one thing we can talk about is for some particular item, where are the children coming from? So that exists already whenever we pass in the item source for the item. So it's a nice puzzle. That's all, and then we want to say, yeah. And then some here in the UI, we're passing the renderer. And the renderer needs to know the item renderer needs to know for any particular item it's going to render, what is the item, what is its type, and if we're going to modify the collection it came from, we also need to know about the item's parent. And if we know about the item's parent, we can also answer this question about the children, because if we know what the parent is, we know how to get the children from it. Okay, so that means when we create a tree view control, we should be able to say, like for the root of the tree view control, we should be able to describe what the head is like and describe a little bit about what the children are like. Sorry, this is fuzzy, but I'm still gelling this in my head. So this, I'll just sketch out what I'm starting to think now. So we need to be able to tell the tree view control along the way what stuff about the node that it's rendering and stuff about like how to get children off of that node. All right. I feel like I'm pretty close, but this is a little tricky. Okay. So this is where we're having the trouble. So let's see if we can work this from here. This feels clunky. So let's have us, let's imagine getting item info from the node. Okay. All right. Now this is starting to feel better. Okay. This is true coding by intent. So we know that the node has a concept of children. We'll worry about that in a minute. Aha. Yes, 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 yes. Node.renderer. And that's all you need to know. We might need to know more later, but this is going to give us what we need. Okay, so we have this node, and we have a children in the renderer. We'll do these as gets. So there's children, which is a getter, children, which is going to return something. And then there is a renderer, which is going to return something. And it's going to return an item that returns JSX element. Why are you? Okay. Okay. It's not happy about that. Oh. Because this is how div. Okay. All right, now how is this node going to learn about the children? Seems like it ought to be constructed from children. Sorry, sorry. It's not. I had to think about this. I'm thinking that this expandable node could be more fundamental to the treeview control. It's wrapping all of this stuff. I think I only want to do the wrapping when the tree is expanded. I don't think I don't like the idea of like wrapping everything at the beginning. Yeah, okay. Because I was thinking maybe this should be more nodes, or it should wrap it in nodes or something. I don't know. So let's change this to observable. Probably don't need observable here, but children. My mind is like going out ahead of myself for all the things that could go wrong doing it this way. So when I render the tree view, I'm always thinking that the tree view can mutate. The data underneath, the arrays and things like that can change. And this data is going to kind of sit around. So when we ask for children, we want to discover at the last minute what we're trying to show. So let's actually go back to the getter. I think the getter is the right approach. So we want to say query item, and query item is going to return children. Okay, good. So that means we need to have a function here called query item. It's a function that takes an item, any, returns something that has children, which is an array of any. We'll add some more here. Query item is this. So query item is this type. And we'll say this dot query item is equal to query item. Okay, so now we're doing this. And we're doing this. Okay. I'm gonna have to quit here in a little bit. So the code is going to complain because when I created a new expandable node, I didn't pass this in. So that means the treeview needs to have query item in its props. Which looks like item renderer, so I'm going to get rid of item renderer. And I'm just going to call it item query. Takes an item and it returns some stuff. And that's to create an interface for it, because we're going to have to put this everywhere. Interface treeview item info. What do we get back? We get back children, any array. We get back a renderer, which is a thing that takes an item and it returns a JSX element. All right, so item query returns a treeview item info. There we go. So the item query is designed so that whenever we look at an item, we can ask, like, what are its children? What renderer do we use for it? And I think that we're eventually going to have to give it a parent and a parent type. Something like that. Just thinking ahead. All right, so next. And because the user can provide this, they can do it any way they want. They can stick properties on the items. They can do whatever they want. Okay, so the query item is going to be this thing that returns a treeview item info, like that, like that. Okay, and then whenever we do this, we want to say a new expandable item. Okay, and it needs an item, and it needs the item query, which is coming in on the props. This dot prop There we go. So now the tree view gets this. So now we say item query. So when we're rendering children, and we're rendering the tree view, the item query is this.props.item query. So, yeah. Okay, so we're rendering a node, but the node already has the item query. So I don't need to ask this. I can just say I'm rendering the children. Node dot query item. Probably dumb that I named it that, but okay. Okay, now we get down to the root. We want to, and now we don't know the item renderer. So we say node dot query item. Actually, we can just do this, node dot render, since all that stuff is there. Okay, and this guy here, the node, we can render it like this. Render. We say return this dot query item, this dot item dot renderer, this dot item. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we just do that. So we say great, render node. Render node comes down here and it renders itself inside the row, and now we're rendering children. Okay, now we come back here to this, and what we need is a item query. So let's do this. Const query item takes an item of any, and it returns a thing, and the thing has to be this. It has to return the children and the parent. Okay, query item is equal to that, and this is going to return just an empty array for now, and it's just a renderer. Will just be the render item. Okay, and the children, so it's going to be, we'll just say items. Okay, we'll get there. So this is item query is equal to query item. Okay. All right, I feel like it's coming together. Okay, so now let's do this. And it is not happy because I have a syntax error in app.tsx line 33. So it does not like this. Why? Because why are you, a comma was inspected? That does not sound like a legitimate syntax error. I was right. JSX admit is defined but never used because of all those typos earlier. Okay, now we're back here. Okay, so it keeps on returning companies as children, so that's ugly. And we're not indenting. So now let's fix the indenting so we can see what's happening, and then we'll fix the other stuff. Check my messages really quick. I'm gonna focusing on coding, can we skip stand up? Okay. Okay, so we want this to be indented. So when we render the node, okay, we want to render, and here's where we're rendering the children. So this div will do the indentation for us. Style equals margin left 20 pixels. Ha! Ha 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 ha! No, that's not what we want. That is not what we want. We do not want it there. We want it on rendered children when we do this. So we're going to render the node. So we're going through and render each of the nodes, and then they have children, which means that we need to put it inside a div. Like this, with a style like that. And that's where the render children, that's where we do it. Okay. There we go. Back to normal. Children, yes. So we can just make that smaller, and we can see we just keep rendering children, and it indents just like we expect. But it's the wrong children. That's right. We shouldn't have, because I just keep returning the items over and over again. Here's where we need to ask about the parent and the parent type. So I want in the query item the parent and the parent type, which is string. Okay. So Okay, so this item came from a thing. No, that's not right. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to switch on the item type to know the children. So children const, actually let children, which is an array of any, equals to nothing. Again, I do not like the type. This is a bad smell that I'm passing around any. But we might be able to change this to a generic later on. But I just want to let you know that I'm thinking about that. Okay, now how do we decide what child we are? So we switch on some type, the item type. Okay, and in this case, we're gonna do literally case. So if the items are company, so if it's a company, then the children is equal to the item dot employees. Item as company dot employees. That's what the children is. Boop. Break. Case employee. The children is equal to item as employee dot knickknacks. Default nothing. Let's return the empty array. Actually, we should return null. Oh, fine. It can be an any or no. Okay, and so that means that this children should be any or null. Okay, so break here. All right, so we'll say children. Okay. We're getting closer. So, boop, 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 boop. We should really have a render company. And which is a company. And we can just do item as name. And we should also have a render employee. Render employee. There's an item as an employee. And we should also have a knick-knack. Knick-knack, which is an item as a, and the knick-knacks are just strings. And then, so we can also here have a knick-knack. Okay. You know, and I have a feeling we're going to need to change other stuff, so I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say return this thing. And instead of breaking, let's have commas here, and then this will be the renderer is render company. Like so. That'll simplify our renderer because we're doing all the switching here. This is feeling better, definitely feeling better. Doop. Okay. Okay. So the knickknacks are going to be different. It's going to be different. So the children is going to be item as employee dot knickknacks, and this is going to be no children on knickknacks, and the renderer here is going to be render employee. Render here is going to be render knickknack, and of course we could always just put it. We could put the renderer there, but we're not going to do it today. Okay, and we don't need to return this. Default will return nothing. Let's do this. Render. Actually, we should just throw because that should never happen. Throw error unknown item type. Item type. Okay, which means the query item needs the item type. String. Okay. And knickknacks don't have an item.name because they're strings. They're just the item. Hooray. Okay. Now the item query is wrong because it says it needs a different type. So the item query needs an item type string. Okay, and oh, that's the no. That's not where I wanted it. I wanted it here. Okay, so now we have the item type coming in, and now it's going to complain down here because it's like we don't know what the item type is. Well, okay, define this dot props dot item type, which means in the props we need to pass in an item type. So I'm thinking about, what if we had hybrid trees where you can have multiple kinds of object under a single thing? So we can't make this be a string, it needs to be a function. Yeah, that'll work. So item any string. Okay. So we need to have item type, or we'll call this get item type. Which, oh yeah. Seems a little weird. Maybe we'll fix it later. But this guy definitely needs to know the item type, which is not always discoverable depending on how you're going to do your tree. So for instance, it's not always discoverable. And you may want to like modify this. So anyway, so props.item type, call it expandable node. Oh, expandable node only takes the 2 query item. It doesn't need to know the item type, I think. Expandable node. Doesn't like that this doesn't have, oh shoot. Item type string. Item type string. Yeah, this item type. So the node needs to know what kind of item it is. So that means when we construct a node, here, where do we do it? There. We say this dot props dot get item type item. That means here in the constructor we need the item type string, and we'll keep it here, item type string, and we'll say this dot item type is equal to item type. Query item, this dot item type. There we go. Why don't you like that? Because there's no comma. Okay, now the item source for this tree view is the node.children, which could be a null. Oh. Which, alright. Yeah, it's returning any or a null, so it could be null. So node.expand. All right. Render children. Yeah. So if node dot. Okay. So const children is equal to node dot children. If children is equal to, actually, if not children, return null. Else return children. And we know it's there. Okay. And why are we unhappy? Because we're missing a property. So we want the item type for the children. So that means we need to say the item type get item type is equal to dang it, got to this last little part here and now it feels like I'm stuck. Yeah, I think we can do this. We can get it off the node. Okay. This is looking ugly, but we can clean it up later. Get item type, which is going to be this. Okay, so that means here, we need to come all the way back here and saying get, this needs to be get child item type. Get child. Okay, so now we can come up here where we know what we're doing. Get child item type. This is just going to return employee. Now, we can make this more sophisticated if we want to have fancy trees, but this is good enough. So child item type here is a knickknack. Child item type here is nothing. Just return null. Can't return null. Fine, let's do that. Okay. Now this tree view needs the get child item type. Oh, get item type is equal to some function that returns company. This is the top node. We understand that that's what's going on. You always have to be explicit on any. All treeviews always have to. You know you're doing. The code should look right when your declarations of treeviews look similar. Okay. Is it working? Oh my gosh. Except we made one little mistake here. This should be employee. There we go. So company has an employee, has a knick-knack. Alright. Should not show this arrow if there's no children. Yes. Okay. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Whew, that was a hairy trip through the forest to get there. Now we're back. We're back to a good spot. So let's turn off that little arrow. And here, if so, we don't even want to show this thing if we don't have it. Is there like a React icon that would be a good one to stick there if let's just do a dot. We'll just show a little dot for stuff that can't be expanded. Go primitive dot. Love it. So go triangle down, go primitive dot. So down here where we're trying to decide this, we want to say node dot children. If yes, then we say node dot expanded. Do. Otherwise, we just do the go primitive dot. So do, yep. Now it just shows a dot. That doesn't, we can still expand it or not, but it doesn't really matter. I don't like that that click is, so we can say, we'll take the event here on the expander click and we'll say event.stop. Can't remember how to do this. React stop mouse click. Prevent it from bubbling. It says you do the stop propagation. That's right. Do. Okay, so don't propagate it. Oh, fine. It's supposed to be some kind of event, like maybe some kind of a mouse event. Args. No, it wants a mouse event handler for an HTML div element. Fine. Mouse event handler for an HTML div element. Fine. There we go. What? Oh. My mistake. I know you're trying to be helpful there, but that was not helpful. What? There's no stop propagation. Fine. I'm trying to be nice here. I'm trying to do the right thing. Any. I'm doing any. Do. So. Oh, it still selects. Oh, probably because I'm not handling the double click and ignoring it. That's stupid. Okay, well anyway, we'll All right, that's bothering me. That's bothering me. Fine. Is there a double click? Yes. So on double click, we're going to do a function that all it does is it says e.stop propagation. All right, I'm going to have to figure out why that happens. That's freaking annoying. Is that because there's the way I'm... Oh, interesting. Okay, what? But it's inside a div. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm gonna have to dink around with it to figure out why that's happening. I'll delete this so I don't have a turd left over. Okay, I think that is as far as I'm going to go today on this one. So let me check in what I've got. So basic expanding tree control working. All right, so I do like to kind of inspect what's going on before I check stuff in. Oh, I didn't check it in when I cleaned it out. That's annoying. So that's all new stuff. Okay, so there's really nothing particularly interesting to look at here. Just a bunch of new and deleted code. Okay, fine. All right, so now we have a control. We'll push it up to main here. Okay, so let's do a little cleaning up in these guys. Did I have that there? No. So in general, like, I kind of like to put stuff like this visually because it's after a while it gets kind of hard to search through the code with your eyes. So just break things up. I like to break it up on the functions as well because I feel like render. I mean, this is all just candy. I never write constructor like that. I like ctor. And then here's a treeview class. Okay, and then we have this expandable node, which is necessary, but it's not public to anybody else. And it also has a ctor and a render. Okay. There we go. I just feel like it makes it easier to tell where functions are beginning and ending. And yeah, we might as well make that a function. I'll call this render children, just to kind of keep it separate. And this is the code. And we'll say render children node. This. Okay. Yeah, so now it's easier to see the different parts that are happening, the different thought happening inside the tree view. So actually it's pretty simple control, not a lot going on there code-wise. This is thinking about expansion and how to manage node properties.
so that the control doesn't have to think too hard about it. The control can just be thinking about formatting and handling clicks and stuff like that. Looks pretty good. And then let's just make sure it still works before I check it in. Okay, great. All right, let's check in our little refactoring. And then check that in. Okay, if you guys want to look at this code, let's tell you where to go. Go get, let's see, I wonder if my repo here is public. So I just keep all the stuff where I'm learning and things like that. I stick it up on GitHub and learning settings. Where are you? Settings. There. Are you public? It is public. Okay, yeah, so this is the repo, GitHub Nebo site learning. Let me put that here. So if you want to go, let me put it in a giant Word document so you can see it on the video. So if you want to see this code, paste, doop, doop. Go to this URL and this particular one is React demo draggable tree view. So you can go look at the code there if you're interested to see what I did. It's not quite draggable yet, but we're getting close to where we'll implement dragging. But it's a good project progress today. We've got a nice flexible tree view control for doing different kinds of rendering and stuff, and automatically handling the expanding and the arrows, things like that. So we'll add some more later. Thanks for watching. See you on the flip side.